Welcome back to Let's Chat, your weekly rundown on the shifts redefining how brands build, communicate, and connect with customers. Today's episode explores a trend that started with a meme and is now showing up in boardrooms, budget decks, and product timelines. Vibe coding. It sounds like a gimmick, but behind the name is a very real transformation in how software is created, and for marketers, the implications are huge. Let's break it down.
It is huge. And honestly, I think we have to talk about the name right away. Vibe coding does the whole concept a bit of a disservice, doesn't it?
It really does. It sounds so casual.
So casual, like you're just, hanging out and suddenly an enterprise application just appears. But what we're really looking at here is a fundamental, really a structural shift in the technical world.
I'm glad you started there. I keep seeing the term on social media, and for half the people, I think it's just a cool buzzword.
Yeah.
So let's get specific. When we strip away the hype, what are we actually doing when we vibe code?
It's more specific than just, say, using ChatGPT. At its core, vibe coding is really just shorthand for using natural language, plain English, to generate executable code with AI.
Right.
Historically, the barrier was language. You had to speak the machine's language.
You needed JavaScript, Python, C++.
Exactly.
Right, you had to know where the semicolons go. If you miss one character, the whole thing would just crash. You needed the syntax.
That syntax was the gatekeeper. It kept the ideas people separate from the building people.
Yeah.
But vibe coding it removes that barrier. You aren't writing instructions, you're describing an outcome. The clearest example for me is web styling. Old world. You're writing 50 lines of CSS. Vibe coding world. You type, make the buttons green, connect this to Stripe, build a dashboard, and AI just does it.
Okay, but make the buttons green feels deceptively simple. It's like we've gone from giving these super detailed instructions to just making a polite request. Is it really that reliable?
Well, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? And we'll definitely get to reliability. But in terms of capability, yes, that shift is unlocking this concept that researchers are calling software for one.
Software for one. I want to pause on that because normally we talk about software in terms of scale, right? Millions of users.
Right.
Software for one sounds like the exact opposite.
It is. It means software built by individuals, often people who don't write code at all, tailored to their own very specific immediate needs. We're seeing the distance between having an idea and building the thing just collapse.
So it's like instant gratification for software engineering.
Precisely. Think about the revolution we saw with design tools a few years ago. Remember when Canva first came out?
Oh, absolutely. It totally changed the game for social media posts. Suddenly everyone was a designer.
Right. Before Canva, you either had to learn Photoshop, which is a huge learning curve, or you waited in a graphic design queue. Canva let people skip the design queue. Vibe coding is letting people skip the engineering backlog, and that frustration, that lag time is driving massive adoption. This isn't some niche hobby anymore. The data we have for this deep dive is, well, it's staggering. As of right now, 41% of all global code is AI generated.
Wait, hold on. 41%.
Oh, 41.
That's incredibly high. You're telling me almost half the code being written today is from a machine?
It is, and honestly, the more interesting stat isn't how much code, but who is writing it. We found that 63% of Vibe coding users are what we call citizen developers.
Citizen developers, a nice way of saying non-coders.
Correct, people with no formal training. Yeah. And they are building internal tools, fully functional apps, everything. We're not just helping developers type faster.
Yeah.
We are changing who gets to be a developer.
That's a huge democratization. I saw a stat in the notes about Y Combinator startups that really blew my mind. It feels like a preview of what's coming.
Among YC startups, 21% of them have code bases that are now 91% AI generated.
91%. So the entire product is basically built by AI, with humans just steering.
Essentially.
Okay, so that's the startup side. But surely the big companies, the Fortune 500s, they aren't letting people just vibe code their way into the corporate infrastructure. That sounds like a compliance nightmare.
You would think so, wouldn't you? But this is the second big insight. The corporate pivot is already well underway. The data shows that 87% of Fortune 500 companies have adopted at least one vibe coding platform.
87, that's almost everyone. Is that just FOMO, or are they seeing real results?
It's results-driven. This is an efficiency play, plain and simple. We're seeing 74% of developers reporting significant productivity gains, and task completion times are dropping by 51% on average.
Half the time. So you're literally doubling your output. But what I don't get is, if I'm a developer, shouldn't I be terrified? Shouldn't I be worried my job is about to disappear?
That's the popular narrative for sure. AI is coming for your job. But the data shows something completely different. 80% of developers say AI makes their work more enjoyable.
That doesn't track. Why would they be happy about a machine doing their craft?
Well, you have to look at what the machine is doing. It's not great at high-level creative architecture, not yet.
Yeah.
It excels at the repetitive stuff. Boilerplate generation, API connections, standard UI components.
The grunt work, the stuff that feels like a chore.
Exactly. It's the digital equivalent of washing dishes. If you could get a machine to do that instantly, you don't feel like you've lost your purpose as a chef. You can finally just focus on cooking. In those areas, the speed advantages are up to 81%.
So where are the big companies actually deploying this? I assume you're not letting an AI rewrite your core banking ledger.
No, definitely not. About 40% of use cases are for internal tooling and platform extensions. But the fastest growing use case, at a 38% growth rate, is rapid prototyping.
Which makes total sense for product and marketing teams.
It's huge for them. Instead of waiting for a sprint, you can vibe code a prototype in an afternoon and get it in front of a user.
And I imagine a creative agency uses this very differently than, say, a healthcare provider.
Very differently. E-commerce and agencies are all about speed. A/B testing, quick integrations. Finance and healthcare, much more cautious. They're using it for non-critical things, like internal automation, but not for core production systems.
Because of compliance and security, you can't just vibe your way through an audit.
Exactly.
Okay, this all sounds like a dream for agility, but I have to play the cynic for a minute. We've painted a pretty rosy picture, but you said something earlier that stuck with me. Fast, but fragile. Let's talk about the hangover. What happens when vibe coding goes wrong?
This is the pivot to risk. And honestly, it's the most important part for marketers to understand. The reality is the code is generated instantly, but it is not always generated safely. A 2025 report found that 45% of AI-generated code samples fail critical security tests.
Oof. Almost half. That's basically a coin flip.
It is. And it gets worse. The problem isn't just the code, it's the people using it. We found 40% of junior developers admit to shipping AI code they didn't fully understand.
See, that is my nightmare scenario. Someone types connect to database, the AI spits out some code, looks like it works, but they don't realize it's left a massive backdoor wide open.
Exactly. They're pasting in black boxes, treating it like magic. This is how you expose user data or crash core systems.
And I'm guessing this creates a massive headache later on, because someone has to fix code that no human actually wrote.
In fact, 63% of all developers say they've spent more time fixing AI code than it would take to just write it themselves.
Oh, the irony. So you save time up front, but pay it back with interest later.
What's the fragile part? And then you have the legal crisis, IP and data governance.
Right. Who owns the code? If a machine writes it, does copyright even apply? And what if it gives me and my competitor the exact same code?
It's a huge gray area. And worse, there's the risk of your own team feeding proprietary data into a public model to build a tool. That data could get exposed.
So this is not just a tech team problem. This is a legal and brand safety problem.
Absolutely. Marketers have to partner with technical teams to make sure these builds are auditable and secure, not just fast.
So we have this tension, massive speed on one side, massive risk on the other. How is the market solving for this?
Well, that's the optimistic part. The ecosystem is evolving very quickly to solve this speed versus safety problem. The market's splitting into specialized solutions.
And what's the most promising thing you're seeing?
Without a doubt, the rise of self-healing agents.
Self-healing agents. That sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. What does that mean in a coding context?
It does sound like sci-fi, but it's the fastest growing tool category right now. These are systems that don't just write code, they watch the code run and detect and fix issues in real time.
So one AI writes the code and another AI comes in to fix its mistakes.
Ideally, it fixes it before you even see the mistake. In pilots, these agents resolved about 12% of prompt failures automatically. It's not perfect, but it's a huge step.
And what about the corporate compliance side?
That's coming too. We're seeing a rise in enterprise governance layers, prompt logging, audit trails, automatic security scans. Vibe coding is growing up.
And as it grows up, I assume the tools are getting more specific?
Exactly. For non-technical creators, you have prompt-to-app builders like Lovable or Bolt. They're focused on full-stack generation from just plain English.
The I have an idea, just build it for me tools.
Right. But for professional developers, you have tools like GitHub Copilot and Cursor. They integrate deeply into the code base, help with debugging. They aren't trying to replace the developer, they're trying to give them superpowers.
It's like the difference between a self-driving car and a Formula One driver with an advanced pit crew.
That is a fantastic analogy. And the interfaces are evolving too. It's not just typing. We're seeing voice. You can draw an interface on a napkin and have an AI code it.
It really feels like the barrier to entry is just gone. If you can communicate, you can build. Which I suppose brings us back to why marketers need to care.
Exactly. The technical ceiling has been lowered, but the strategic floor has been raised. You have to know exactly what you're asking for.
So if I'm a listener thinking, okay, I want to try this, what's the advice? Jump in or wait and see?
The advice is to jump in, but pick your pool. Start with internal tools. Start with prototypes. Use it to clear your backlog of those nice-to-have features. That's the sweet spot right now.
Prompt literacy is the new platform literacy. Ideas that used to take weeks now take hours. Tools that once required dev cycles can be built by the people who use them. And marketers. We're not just submitting tickets anymore, we're shaping what gets built. That's it for this week's Let's Chat. We'll see you next time. Same time, same chat.